Indie games are the underdogs of the gaming world. There are a lot of studios coming out with your favorite titles, only for them to sometimes disappoint you or sometimes not live up to their expectations. There's a sense of repeatability in the titles, meaning with each installment, you know what is coming next. Whether it is a continuation of a past story or something new to the series, some development houses will kind of give you something that you're already used to. Some studios, on the other hand, will give you a different experience and kind of focus more on the story as opposed to the visuals of the game, and still leave you with a memorable experience once you finish the game. If you're like me, you have a difficult time picking up what to play on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, or any of these online stores, which always have a large multitude of games. And sometimes you might gravitate toward a certain game or genre or series. I'm here to show you one gem that you might have missed, one that is really worth playing. This one is called Road 96. You are on the Patch Network, and today we're asking the question, is the journey really more important than the ending? On the surface, Road 96 is about adventure, politics, making a change in a country that is being led by an evil tyrant. This game is also in first person and follows a set of missing teenagers who are trying to flee the country. This also is set in the 90s. For many reasons, these teenagers are running away from home. The fear in them is that they will be sent to a place called the Pits, which is about of a great place as the name suggests. Just kidding. The game starts a few months away from the elections, and the characters you are playing as are all trying to get out of the country, also known as Petria, in order to save themselves from the potential terrors of another political win by Tyrek, who is portrayed as the evil president hell-bent on destroying the country, looking for re-election. Each road trip will have you starting at different points in the routes towards the border, following a different teenager. Now, along the journey, you will have interactions with various key characters who all play an important role leading up to election day and on election day. With each interaction, you affect some part of the overall story, and the decisions that you make and how you communicate with these key characters also affect your next playthrough. We will look more into the characters in detail in another video, so just bookmark that thought. If you choose to interact with some part of the world, be it to leave or to take money at the camp, which is close to the border, or to anger another one of the key characters at some point in the previous journey, it will be visible when you get to the same character or area sometime later on in the game. It also gives a nice feeling when you have made a good decision and find that your choice has actually made the next run through that much easier. Also, you may be a little bit annoyed with yourself if in the next journey to the border, it is much more difficult because of a choice that you've made to either damage something or to anger someone, and now the tricks that you've used before no longer work because people are now wise to your antics. The game really takes the saying, the journey is more important than the destination to heart, and really puts the focus on trying to meet the core people, learn as much about them, and pretty much just take your time, especially when you are on the journey. The game does not demand much in terms of graphics. The art style is also not that overly complicated and does not try to be realistic in any way. And why should it? The main selling points are the interactions that you have with the people as well as the world. The game is also not perfect in how it plays. There are some parts which not necessarily break but don't have a great flow in the way that people walk, or some of the animations in the game that do not feel too fluid. There are things that you cannot unsee when it happens. For example, a character moving in an odd motion, or if you are somewhat stuck and because you cannot jump, because the angle that you're standing in is kind of weird, you kind of have to move very weirdly to actually get to a comfortable position so that you can free yourself from being stuck between a rock and a hard place. To name a few examples, the game does have a few flaws, but nothing that really breaks it, so we can actually look past a lot of these. One thing about the game is that it takes a real point in making the journey memorable. How it does this is by having you collect tapes from each person or each player or each scenario at certain parts of the story as a little bit of memorabilia. Each tape that you collect and replay will remind you of the certain points of the game as well as the certain characters that you've met. The titles and the tapes also give you a hint as to what happened in the game as well as what is coming. Looking at the developer, some of the games that they've created are music centered, but this one is a little bit different in that it ties the music to a deeper part of the story. The game blends the music and the mood so well that I find myself going back to play certain parts of the game, mainly because of how well the music fits in. There's a certain section in the game which I always like to play and get to because it's like a halfway point through the journey. It's almost like a pause in the game, while it isn't a pause, but you are essentially alone in an area. And I think that the creators of the game knew exactly what they were doing, because it feels as though you are alone and you're walking at night and the moon is your only guide. A song slowly starts playing in the background and you can't do much but stop and stare at the night sky and breathe. It's a subtle reminder that the road is long, but you have met some very interesting people. Looking at some of the OSTs or original soundtracks in the game, you actually find that the choice of music in the game is really good. Some people have really identified with the choice of music and how it's made us all feel. I truly say that some players have come back to the game to hear certain songs or have jumped over to YouTube to listen to some of these in any way. And we listen to these outside of the game in order to remind us of all the interactions and all the decisions that we've made, and the memories honestly have followed us outside of the game. The game does more than just consider your choices that you've made as an individual, but it affects a lot of what will happen to the ending of the game and how the elections play out. Naturally, you want to play and save as many teenagers as possible, but trying to get a perfect record, funny enough, also affects how the game actually ends and which characters live and which characters die at the end of the story. But if you are lucky and you're able to discover 100% of each character's or the key character's pasts and what they are trying to achieve and what part they play in the story, there are also some nice collectibles, some skills that you will learn in the game that will actually help you access different areas of the game. These skills in the game will actually have you being able to hack certain software, to open certain doors, or to break into certain areas. Also, you might be able to use one of the skills, especially if you want to escape using the mountain pass. Road 96 is worth your time indeed. Despite some of the minor performance issues in the game that it lacks in terms of the flow and how it plays, it gives you so much more in terms of the story as well as the feeling in the game and how the choices that you make will affect the end. You also get the sense that each teenager that you play as actually has their own backstory, their own personality, skills and flaws. It doesn't show up in the physical appearance, but it actually shows up in the way that they interact, the way that the character phrases certain sentences, the way that the character is able to either fall or play a certain game because they either are very agile, they're very flexible, or they're very fast. These are not really seen directly in the game, but you can pick it up and you know that each character that you're playing as is very much different. If you're looking to spend some time over the weekend and you feel like a little bit of a break from the normal games that you usually play, I would suggest that you try this hidden gem as something that you play as soon as you can. At least one playthrough will be enough. And who knows, you might end up getting hooked, and you might want to see how each different choice that you make impacts the end of the game. With a tagline that the game had as part of its trailer, if you play it once, you will miss the best moments. So why would you want to play it only once? That brings us to the end of the video, and if you made it to this point, why not replay this video? Maybe you probably missed one of the better moments in the story or in this video. But if that seems like a little bit more of a chore, why don't you hit like, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. You can take a look at our previous videos for our take on another game which is also nearly as replayable as Road 96, but actually is a little bit more stressful. Apart from that, thank you for being patched in, and we'll see you next time.